Welcome, welcome to the Wartime MMA podcast. It's your boys, Mike, Tony, and Alex. And here today, we're gonna be talking about the final fight night of UFC ESPN era, and we went successful in the last event. Uh, Tony made some money on that shit. Now, hopefully we can make another amount, and hopefully this one ends. I mean, obviously we all know it's not gonna be as good as Jan and Marab's card, but let's just hope this fight night goes out with a good showing. But anybody else got any final thoughts about this card before we get started?
Nope, not really. To be honest, I'm ready to get into it. You know,
Tony? Yeah,
last
it's
week was
me.
so good. I'm ready to follow that momentum.
Yeah, same here. Um, yeah, we might as well just start early prelim opener. Tess Teresa Bleda taking on Jamie Lynn Horth. I got Teresa Bleda. I think Czech Republic needs a women's fighter, and Jamie Lynn Horth is fucking awful. So nothing really else to explain there. I got Teresa Bleda by decision.
Yeah, I'm also gonna have to go with Teresa Bleda here. Her only one loss is to Natalia Silva in a fight where she was actually, if I remember right, winning. She was out grappling Natalia, and Natalia got her with a spinning back kick in like the throat and knocked her out. But Blade is actually really young, 24, and I mean, if you're out grappling Natalia Silva, and I want to say what was her debut when she was like 20 or 21, at the age of 24, I expect to see some improvements. Jamie Lynn Horth, I think, is okay for a women's fighter. She does seem like she takes her career somewhat serious, which makes her better than a lot of women, unfortunately. But I think Blada's one of these bitches who's been all in for a while. Jamie Lynn Horth takes me as like the type of girl who went through a divorce, had a breakup, got on alcohol, got fired, and then she's like, "Ah, MMA, this is a good substitute." Whereas Teresa Bleda was in this shit from day one. I think she's, probably watched it since she was a kid. She's in the UFC young, a great grappler. I got her winning this fight easily. Out grappling. I'm gonna say finish. I'm expecting improvements.
Yeah, debut. I'm tripping. She already fought in the UFC. Uh, Teresa Bleda for the Czech Republic going up against Jamie Lynn Horth from Canada. I'm gonna go Teresa Bleda as well. I think we're gonna make it a clean sweep. Not really a shocking pick. Jamie Lynn Horth, I think she's just kind of a game fighter. She's just like there, like hard to finish, and she's tough, and she just kind of wins like the duration of a 15-minute bout in the eyes of the judges. But Teresa Bleda, I think she's not a small girl for their weight class. I think she's probably the more powerful puncher by the looks of the two of them. And she can grapple a bit. So I don't hate Alex's sentiment for wanting to go inside the distance with Teresa Bleda. And I could see her winning all three ways, honestly. I could see where she wins a decision. I could see where she gets a TKO. I could see where she gets a club and sub. Maybe she advances position towards a submission. Tough the method, but definitely going with Teresa Bleda. I'm gonna go with a. I guess I'll go like a second round TKO. I can see a decision, but I'll be bold. I'll reach. I just think Jamie Lynn Horth is hittable and Teresa Bleda is not bad, so I'll go second round TKO.
Alrighty, moving on. We got Alan Fry taking on Guillermo Pat. Um, I don't know if I pronounced that right. I'm gonna go with Guillermo. I don't know. I'll let you. I didn't really do much study on this one. Who wants to go first?
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at these guys right now. I've never seen a fight from either of these guys. They're both it says 27 for Fry. I assume Pat is a similar age. They both seem to be prospects. Both of them really haven't fought anybody that good. But I'm looking at their records. The best guy unanimously fought by either one of them is the most recent opponent of Fry. And Tapology seems to think that he's going to win. Most of Tapology is picking Fry by a drastic measure, although Guillermo Pat is actually a favorite on the odds. It's close. I don't have a whole lot to go off of here, but you know what? There's like jack shit to go off of. Something tells me when you have like a bummy random guy from America versus a bummy random guy from Brazil, favor the Brazilian. They're both tall. They don't have a reach for Fry. I'm gonna guess he's a little bit smaller than he says he is. Gilmore Pat, though, they have a reach up, and that reach is 80 inches. This is heavyweight. I'm looking at Fry. I kind of don't see it, to be honest. In his Tapology photo, he doesn't really look like a heavyweight. Pat kind of does. They say Pat weighs less, so I'm thinking Pat's going to come in. He's going to be a long, athletic, fast heavyweight, and I'm going to pick that. Guillermo Pat, first round KO. I have like no reason. I don't know either of these motherfuckers, but putting together what I can put together.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with Alex. I'm just gonna go with the favorite here, and who looks less fat. I'm gonna go with Guillermo Pat. I think Guillermo Pat is just less. He's probably more athletic and stuff, and heavyweight, more athletic fighters tend to win. So I'll go first round KO as well. Why not?
Yeah, I think we're gonna make it a clean sweep. Just similar to Alex and Mike. I mean, I don't know any of these two fighters. I think both these guys are making their debut. Truthfully, yeah, it's an undefeated heavyweight bout. Alan Fry, all of his 6 professional wins seem to be by knockout, and Guillermo Pat 5-0. I want to say he has at least 3 or more knockouts. So both these guys are powerful punchers. But looking at their topology picture, maybe I'll look at more tape. I'm just gonna blindly assume Guillermo Pat is the more athletic one between the two of them, and I think I'll make it a clean sweep. Both guys are knockout artists, so I don't see a reason as to why like they would respect each other's power in point fight, or dare I say, have a fight like Ngannou and Lewis, where they just stare at each other. But I'll go Guillermo Pat. I'm gonna go with a. I'll go with a second round TKO. I just feel like they'll feel each other out in the first round. Guillermo Pat will look to be the more technical one between the two of them. To feel each other out, he'll see what kind of strikes he likes to use, and him being the more athletic guy, I think he'll be able to make the adjustments after round one. After Alan Fry is a little more exhausted, maybe used all of his explosiveness in round one, and then Guillermo Pat pounces on him in round two. So I'll go with Kong in a UFC debut, second round TKO.
All right, moving on. You got Luana Santos taking on Melissa Croden. Uh, not because of certain things. I got big Luana in this fight. I think she's gonna win via. Let me see. I want to go with a signature woman's MMA fashion, but Luana has some good finishing. She has a good finish rate. I'll go submission. Second round submission. Luana Santos. I think she'll out grapple her and sub her.
Yeah, I have to go with Luana Santos as well. She's been in the UFC for a little bit longer than Melissa Croden has. Melissa Croden did, I want to say, win her last fight, or like have a good performance at very least. I'm searching that up now if my phone can load any faster. Hainara Lisboa by KO, she won. Not as good as I thought it was. Honestly, Santos is hot. Croden's really not as much. Usually that's enough logic to go for Croden. But Luana's different. She's actually has semblance of some skills at bantamweight or whatever fucking weight class she is at now. She was at flyweight. But maybe this is at flyweight. But regardless, I do have Luana Santos. I think she's more dangerous, higher finish rate. It's at bantamweight. And Melissa Croden, 34, older, is a Canadian female. They tend to do better than the men. But I'm going to go with Luana here. I think she's slicker on the feet, and I think on the ground, if it comes to it, she's going to be more able to find a submission. Luana, finish.
Yeah, Alex and Mike will tell you how big I am on Luana Santos. I'm a big fan. She's one of my favorites in the UFC. But that being said, she only has 2 real losses, and they're really good if you look kind of break it down. I mean, Jenna Bishop in PFL, yeah, she's losing, but she's losing to like Liz Carmouche, Dakota Decheva, and Talia Santos. So I think that's a pretty decent women's MMA fighter. And the other loss in Luana Santos' career, aside from Jenna Bishop, is Casey O'Neill. And I picked Casey O'Neill in that fight. And that's another women's MMA fighter that Alex and Mike would tell you that I'm pretty high on. I've been very high on Casey and Luana. So I liked Casey in that matchup because I felt like she'd be able to neutralize the grappling and be able to strike and look good. And that's exactly what she did. Luana now fighting Melissa Croden. Melissa Croden, I want to say, is coming off the knockout win over Tanara Lisboa, but been there, done that. Luana Santos did that too. I'm biased, but yeah, I'm going Luana Santos in this one. This fight can go a lot of ways. I feel like she could grapple well and maybe in advance towards a submission. I like her top pressure and her top game with her strikes. She could get a ground and pound TKO, and I think she could win a decision throughout a 15-minute bout. So Luana is definitely the side for me that I'm going with. I'm just torn as to what method I'm going to pick her. I'll I'll go with a between second and third round TKO. I feel like she'll get the takedown in round one, and it's just going to kind of be demoralizing for Croden. I don't think she's going to be able to scramble out or get to a good position. So I'll go with Luana Santos by third round TKO. Late finish.
Ready. Ready to move on. Sean Sharaf taking on Steven Asplund. I remember Steven Asplund from the Contender Series. He looked pretty good. Although he's got an ugly ass body. Dude looks like a melted fucking bag. He looks like melted ice cream. This guy does. But he can fight. I'm gonna go with I'll go Steven Asplund by KO. First or second. I'll go first round KO for Asplund. Junior Taffa was able to knock him out in Junior Taffa's ass. I don't know how good Asplund is. I just know that he didn't look bad in the Contender Series, so I'm going off that logic.
Yeah, two fat retards. What is there to pick from outside of which one's less fat, right? That's how the predictions usually go. Asplin has like the saggiest titties I've seen in my life, and like the saggiest like belly fat from like losing weight ever. Like he is a disgusting look. I'm gonna be honest. I don't like it's like that fucking SpongeBob movie. It's like my eyes, like it burns. It fucking is. He's so flabby, but he looked good on the Contender Series. If I remember right, the guy he fought wasn't very good. He's fought some okay people on the regionals before. Some he won, some he lost. Sean Sharaf, I think he is a kickboxer. Fat, short, couldn't beat Junior Tafa, even when he injured Junior Tafa. That's telling. Junior Tafa ain't good, and now he's at light heavyweight. He's a smaller guy as well, pretty skinny. I don't really see anything I can pick Sean Sharaf off of, so I'm going to pick Steven Asplund. Sharaf gashed really bad against Tafa as well. It was short notice, but he's a very round guy. At least like Asplund lost the weight, and now it's just flabbiness. I'm gonna go Steven Asplund by I'm gonna say TKO in the second round after Sharaf and him have a close fight. Sharaf gasses and Asplund gets it.
Yeah, clean sweep. Not going to be too long on this one. I'm going to go Steven Asplund as well. Yeah, I think Alex said it best. Just kind of go with the guy who's less obese. The heavier weight classes are seeing more of a resurgence in athleticism and skill. Not even a resurgence, just an evolution of it. You can no longer be have the physique of a milk carton. Basically, you can't be an obese, unathletic fighter because just the skill gap and just the athleticism in general is just getting better every year. So Sean Sharaf doesn't look anything special. He's like 6'3", 77 reach. I want to say Asplund's like 6'5". I'm assuming they have like equivalent, if not greater, reach. Asplund just looks more athletic, and his one loss is by submission to someone who made their UFC debut fairly recently in Denzel Freeman, and he didn't look terrible. He looked like a competent fighter, so for that to only be his one loss, I'm not mad at that. Versus the Tafa knockout loss for Sean Sharaf, that doesn't look that great anymore. Yes, the Tafa brothers are powerful, and I think he fought the more powerful one between the two of them. But he's small for the weight class. Like he kind of just has like one like power shot really. Like if you can avoid that, I think you can beat him. I'm gonna assume Asplund just is better, so I'll go with a Steven Asplund heavyweights. I can see a first round TKO. I've been spamming second rounds lately. I can go with that too. Let me see where a majority of his finishes are in. Probably the first round, I'd imagine, for Asplund. Whatever round is more prevalent with TKOs, I'll go with that one. I know I'll just reach. I'll go first round TKO Steven Asplund. I don't think Sean Sharaf's anything special. So
Alrighty, moving on. We got Neil Magny taking on the former Bellator champ, making his professional UFC debut. His UFC debut. I sound like a fucking casual when I said that. Professional UFC. Anyways, making his UFC debut, Yaroslav Amosov. I'm gonna go with Yaroslav Amosov. I remember watching him when he was dominating in Bellator. He was damn near like hyped up to be like damn near greater than Khabib type shit. Like dude was 28-0 just cooking people. You could argue like he was probably fighting bums and all, but he has some decent wins in his resume, man. Like dude's not bad, and his only loss is to Jason Jackson. I've heard some people picking Neil Magny just by going off the Jason Jackson fight, but I reckon Jason Jackson's way better than Neil Magny. So I'm not gonna go by that logic. I'm gonna go with Yaroslav Amosov by I'm gonna go first round sub. Go first round sub Yaroslav Amosov. I think he's gonna get him to the ground, and just start cooking him, and then get him with some good get him in a good submission. I've seen him. He's got a good anaconda choke, and he's also got some good submissions in his back pocket as well. So I think he could just finish the fight however he wants. I'll go first round sub.
Yeah, I also have to go with Yaroslav Amosov here. He's the younger guy, the more powerful guy, the more athletic guy. All of these things. I think he's the better grappler than Neil Magny as well. He's not one of these young guys that's going to come in and lose in the third round to Neil Magny. He's been a champion at Bellator. He's lost. He's won. After his loss to Jason Jackson, he actually took a big part off of his career to fight in the Ukraine war. And now he has the one win against Curtis Millender, which, to be honest, he's kind of an unk, old, took a lot of damage. That doesn't mean a lot to me at this point to sub Curtis Millender in a round. But I want to say he's probably improved. And even if he didn't, I think the Amosov we saw at Bellator's champion is good enough to beat Neil Magny. Neil Magny's long; he can be tricky, but I think Amosov, if he wanted to, he can just beat the shit out of him. He doesn't strike me like he's gonna fraud out and get subbed by Neil Magny. I don't think that's a possibility. I don't think he's gonna gas in the third and get TKO'd by Neil Magny. I don't know if he'll finish Neil Magny. I feel like he 100% could, but it's hard to say. I'm gonna say Amosov got better in the time off, and I'm gonna say he does finish Neil Magny. I'm gonna say second round submission, Yaroslav Amosov.
yeah, yeah, I think we're gonna make. I want to say we picked all clean sweeps. I don't think we've differed on an opinion yet of a fight. I'm gonna go with the UFC debut of Yaroslav Dynamo Amosov over Neil Magny in this one. Younger, not a real reach disparity. With a shorter fighter, which I like a lot. In Bellator, he was great. His only one career loss is Jason Jackson, who I do agree with Mike. I think he, at this moment, is as good, if not a better fighter than Neil Magny. Um, Neil Magny, he's a 6'3", 80-inch reach. He's long for the division. He has good cardio, good endurance, veteran savvy. 30 pro wins is, commendable. He's coming off a big upset win over Jake Matthews. That was a good performance. I just think this is Amosov's big moment, getting in the big leagues. I think he's gonna recognize the situation. I don't really think there's a damage with Neil Magny. I think it's more so from like I've always had this feeling about Neil Magny that he wins on like the extremes of the spectrum, meaning like he beats young guys that are wild, so to speak, or just unexperienced, and he's able to capitalize on their mistakes. And like later in the fight, he builds on it. Or he beats these fighters who are old and washed, and like he's just more athletic and looks better than the old versions of themselves. So he's beating either you're very young or you're very old. But in that middle, if you're in your prime, if you have experience, if you understand the fundamentals of MMA, I feel like you beat him. And I think Yaroslav Amosov is in his prime more than exiting it. Obviously, his UFC debut. I think there's a grappling gap between the two of them. Neil Magny's been subbed 6 times, been knocked out 4 times. Yaroslav has like 11 submissions, 9 TKOs. I think his submission game and his grappling is really good. Honestly, if you're Magny, I think you should try to keep this feet on the fight. Keep this feet in the fight. Keep this fight on the feet. Try to strike with him. I think Yaroslav's got all the grappling upside in this one. I think he's the better wrestler. I think he has the better sub game. I'm gonna go with a Yaroslav Amosov submission in round. I don't think he's gonna do it as quick as Burns did, but it wouldn't shock me either. But I'll go with Alex. I'll go second round submission. Yaroslav Amosov, successful debut for Dynamo.
Yeah. Moving on. We got Joe Anderson Brito taking on Melzik Bagdasarian. Uh I'll let one of y'all take it from here.
I'll take the wheel, I suppose. Yeah, Joe Anderson Brito. I like him. I like the style. He's very explosive. He goes for it. He has a real knockout potential, and he even has some submissions and grappling to an extent. 17-5-1 record. He trains at Shootbox. I don't know if it's the exact same brand of Shootbox as like a Charles Oliver, Ian Gary. Probably not. But yeah, he's your typical explosive type Brazilian fighter. He's always looking for the finish. He's pretty athletic, pretty dangerous early. Coming off the loss to Pat Sabatini, and then coming off another loss by split to William Gomez. He's on a 2-fight losing streak. So, conventional wisdom would tell you that like with the finishing upside, that he's probably the side to go with here, coming off 2-fight losing streak. Going up against Melsik Bagdasarian, the Armenian. He is the guy that got knocked out by Gene Silva. He got pretty much emoted on and memed. It was pretty crazy. I think he's got good striking. I think his grappling, it's not great. He really wants to keep the fight on the feet. I think if anyone's gonna grapple, it'd be Brito. Um, Conventional wisdom says to go with Brito, but I'm gonna reach. This is actually one of my underdog picks of the card. I'm gonna go with Melsik Bagdasarian, and the reason being is that I think he's more technical on the feet. I think he's a better striker. I think he uses his kicks better. I know Brito has a TKO by leg kicks out like a cat, like because the Jack Shore fight, like he crashed his shin into his shin and it was bleeding and they like stopped the fight. I know he's very powerful and he's very explosive, and he definitely can knock out or sub Bagdasarian. But I think Bagdasarian's going to do a good job on the back foot. He's going to use the over aggression of Brito, and I think he's going to display good grappling awareness to not get in compromising positions. I think he's going to avoid the big right hand of Brito, and I think he's going to look good for 15 minutes displaying good striking. I'm going to go with a Melsik Bagdasarian decision win where his striking is valued more than the big blows and the grappling attempts of Brito. Good fight in the featherweight division.
I'll go last.
Uh Tough fight in this fight. I'm gonna go with Joe Anderson Brito still, just because Bagdasarian's last fight is by KO, and you know it's been a minute since he's fight. I mean, you could argue it's been a minute since Brito fought as well, but Brito, I feel like is gonna. I feel like Brito has something. He needs to come out and show out in this fight. He came off a bad fight against Pat Sabatini, and then he lost to William Gomez, which are two pretty decent fighters. So ain't really a bad loss. Bagdasarian's last fight was Gene Silva, not a bad loss either. But I'm gonna go with Brito here, man. I think he could sub him. I think he could finish. I think he could knock him out. I'll go with a first or second. I'll go second round finish by Brito, either by sub or KO.
Yeah, I also have to go with Joe Anderson Brito. Melsick is live in this fight. I'm hearing what Tony's saying. I don't think either one of them is super better than the other, but I do think aggression and power can give Melsick problems. Also, a level of grappling, as we saw Kulabau could submit him. And, Gene Silva's good, but I think the aggression of Gene Silva played a part in that as well as the power, which are two things Brito has. I'm not going to say Brito's better than Gene Silva because he's not. He doesn't have the timing or the bag that he does. But I do think the grappling, the power, and the strength are all things they both have in common. And I think those things can give Melsick a problem, especially when somebody like Kulabau could get a submission. There were a couple fights early in Brito's career where he was getting takedowns and just scaling people's back and subbing them in the first round. I think that would be a good return to form for him in this fight, especially after losing to a grappler in his last fight. But I'm gonna have to go Brito. I feel like he's a little bit more proven. He's I feel like better overall. He's been in higher spots, fought in closer to the rankings, even though Melsick has fought the likes of Gene Silva. Brito's fought Diego Lopez and won. So I'm gonna go Brito. I'm gonna say submission, first round.
Alrighty, moving on. We got Amanda Lemos taking on Jillian Robertson. I wanted to go with Amanda Lemos, but I'm gonna go with Jillian Robertson, man. I think she's very good. Her grappling is very good. Lemos has also got pretty good grappling, and she can win. She can win on the feet and stuff. But oh no, man. I think if I know Verna is good and all, but like I think I think Jillian Robertson is very underrated. Her record is not good, I get that, but her style is not bad. She has a very good style. I like how she gets bitches on the ground, subs them or TKOs them. She's very good on the ground. I'm gonna go with Jillian Robertson by I'll go submission. I'll go submission. Second round sub. Or I could see her winning by decision too, though. Women's MMA signature. I'll go with the decision, but I could see her finishing Lemos.
Yeah, this is a tough fight. Historically, the girls that kind of beat Lemos are the girls that are able to grapple. So in on paper, I think Jillian Robertson could win, but she Lemos is honestly pretty good, and she is able to beat grapplers. Although that is a style that beats her, she has beaten them before, like the likes of Lucindo and Mackenzie Dern. But honestly, I think it might just be a little bit too much too soon. Jillian Robertson has been around for a while, so it doesn't really make sense for me to say that. But she's always kind of existed as like a 14, 15 or unranked girl. I'm not buying the transcendence. I think, to be honest, strawweight is just dead, and she picked a really good time to move down. I think it can look similar to the Dern fight. This is a girl that got TKO'd by Miranda Maverick. Miranda Maverick, everybody touted as like a Muay Thai god after that fight, and that did not age well, as we all know. I think Jillian's good. I do think she's improved, but I think it's like, she's kind of learned and gotten better, but I don't think she's good enough to be the likes of Lemos. I think the power is an equalizer. I still think Jillian's hittable. She lost on the feet to Abatha Ritchie, which also isn't a good look. She seems to favor ground and pound more than a submission. I feel like I think submission is easier to get Lemos out than pounding her out. I think the moments on the feet are going to be the big difference. This is 3 rounds. I think the big moments will seal it for Lemos. I'm going to say Lemos. I'm going to say TKO. I'm going to say TKO. I've been picking all the women's fights by finish, surprisingly. But I'm going to go Lemos by KO in the second. Oh, in the second round, too, today.
Tough fight in the strawweight division, truthfully. This top 10 matchup between Jillian Robertson and Amanda Lemos. Very binary black and white fight. This is your prototypical striker versus grappler matchup. A stat that I'm not a fan of in this matchup for Jillian Robertson is I think it was like 80 takedowns attempted in the UFC. She's only landed like 3 of them. Her wrestling isn't great. She has like a 40% takedown accuracy. Amanda Lemos has like a 64% takedown defense. It looked improved in the Tatiana Suarez fight. Her wrestling looked really good. Her defense, I thought she was gonna get mauled in that fight, but she was able to mitigate like what I thought was gonna happen. I thought for sure Suarez was just gonna get on top, mount her, and beat her the fuck up. She didn't. Amanda Lemos looked competent in that fight. This is a girl who's fought in a championship before. I do kind of hear what Alex is saying as far as Robertson, even though she's been in the UFC for a while, at least since like 2020, if even earlier than that. What am I saying? But like she's been in the UFC for a while. She's kind of grown up in it, so I do kind of see her evolving and getting better in fights. I do see that, but she always kind of has been unranked or 14 or 15 career. There is an age gap between the two of these girls. Robertson's 8 years younger. Lemos obviously has the standing upside in every way, shape, and form. The boxing, the kicking, the power, the durability. I think Amanda Lemos, if this fight stays on the feet, I can definitely understand as to why Alex thinks a knockout would occur. This fight, it's really simple. It comes down to can Jillian Robertson get a takedown or force grappling exchanges where she can take advantage of Amanda Lemos. Where I feel Suarez's wrestling is better than Robertson's, I think Robertson's jiu-jitsu is better than Suarez's. So Suarez wasn't really able to get on top, so it's kind of hard to see how Robertson would, but it would be so MMA if that were the case. That's how MMA works. Like even though the wrestler is better than the jiu-jitsu base, somehow she has more success with the takedowns. It's a really tough fight. It kind of is predicated on that simple fact: can Robertson get grappling like momentum and be able to do it? And she kind of do what Pat Sabatini did to Chepe Mariscal, so to speak. Can she just get on top and like try to advance position? I don't know. Statistically, it's saying she's not supposed to. This fight was a pick'em. Serious line movements coming in on Jillian Robertson. I imagine just because of the win streak that she's on and things of that nature. But she's lost 6 decisions. She's been knocked out. Her one knockout loss is Macy Barber. It's not that bad. It's a tough fight, but I initially wanted to go with Jillian Robertson, but after looking at some statistics, it's a 15-minute fight. Who do I think is going to inflict more damage? I think I might be switching. I think I'm going to go Amanda Lemos. And I hear the knockout angle. Man, this is tough. Because I initially wanted to go Jillian Robertson, but I just don't like her wrestling. I don't think it's good enough to get Lemos on the ground if Suarez can't. I'm going to go with Amanda Lemos by decision. I go decision. I can see a TKO. I'll go Amanda Lemos by second round TKO. I think the striking upside is just drastically in her favor. It's going to have to be some level of pace, pressure, and volume from Robertson to be able to close the distance on Amanda. And if she does close the distance, I could see her walking into a left hook. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Amanda Lemos. But let's see.
Alrighty. Moving on, we got Kennedy Nizichukwu taking on Marcus Buchecha. Uh, tough fight. They're both equally ass, I feel like. But I'm gonna go with. I'll go with Ken. I'll let y'all go.
I'll kick this one off. Marcus Buchecha, he had his UFC debut against Martin Buday. I'm pretty sure we all picked him. He didn't look good. Martin Buday looked good in the striking. Buchecha wasn't able to get any grappling whatsoever. You know, I think that Buchecha, his striking sucked. His grappling didn't look good. We thought that coming from one championship that he'd be able to translate to the UFC pretty well. It didn't pan out that way. As for Kennedy Nizichukwu coming off the loss to Walter Walker, I don't think there's any shame in that. I mean, I guess it's shameful you got heel hooked in the first round. That's kind of bad, but Vulture Walker is a real sub threat. He only has one career loss. I think Vulture Walker is a good fighter at heavyweight. I think from an athleticism standpoint, it's Kennedy. I think on the feet, it's Kennedy. It's just a matter of can Buchecha get on the ground and can he advance like positions to force a submission. I just want to see what Kennedy's takedown defense is, and I want to see if he's ever really been out grappled on his Tapology real quick. I'm leaning Kennedy. Let's see. Let's see. Kennedy has been subbed 2 times. He got subbed by Walter Walker, and he got subbed by Paul Craig. I mean, I think those are pretty good fucking grapplers in MMA. And yeah, I'm gonna go Kennedy. Boudet went to a decision. I don't know if Buchecha's ever been knocked out. I don't think he's a victim on the feet. Maybe he could take a punch or two, but yeah, I'm gonna go Kennedy Nozuchukwu by 3rd round TKO. I think he's gonna on the first gonna trying to like get an idea of the range of the fight, trying to move around, get Marcus Buchecha tired just from moving. Try to sniff out the takedowns. Then in the 2nd round, I think he's going to be more willing to go forward, willing to sit down more on his punches, and I think Buchecha's, grappling is going to be less effective. And I think we head into the 3rd round, and I think Buchecha's going to be tired from trying to chase him around the cage, and Kennedy's just going to be the more athletic, longer, better striker, and he's just going to be pretty much like tagging him on the back foot. I think he'll look much improved from the Kennedy that we saw at Fight OSP. I think his striking will look a lot better from that standpoint to now. I'm going to go to Kennedy Nozuchukwu with 3rd round TKO to Buchecha, who really wasn't able to ever get the grappling going. Takedowns were never really landing. He's getting knees to the body. He's eating straight punches to the face. He's getting beat up. And then in the 3rd round, he just kind of keels over. 3rd round TKO, Kennedy Nozuchukwu.
Yeah, this is a tough fight for me, to be honest. I want to pick Kennedy, and I probably am going to. I'm probably leaning that way. But I think Buchecha, in his 2 losses, he lost to Umar Kane or Rouge in 1FC and Martin Boudet in his debut in the UFC. These are 2 big, strong guys, very big for heavyweight, who are very strong. Even for a World at Warcraft player, Boudet is quite big. Like compared to a lot of guys he's in the cage with, Boudet is a big guy. That being said, he's fat. And Rouge is big and strong, but he's trash. And losing in another promotion, I don't really like. I know Rouge beat fucking Anatoly Malakin, but I honestly think that's just bad on Malakin. I don't think Rouge is good. He had that fake throat punch where he faked like he got injured so he could try to get a DQ in. I don't think highly of him. And if you're losing to him, that's enough for me to pick against you, especially when you're getting out grappled by Boudet. I don't like when you're a grappler by trade and getting out grappled by a guy who picked up jujitsu after he got tired of being fat and playing World at Warcraft, to be fair. Like, I know Budai isn't that bad and he is pretty good and he is big, but against a guy like Kennedy who's honestly talented and good, I got to go Kennedy. I want to chase Tony's prediction with the 3rd round finish. I do think the knees to the body are going to be huge, but I'm not going to go TKO. I think he's going to TKO him more or less into a submission. I think he's going to knee him into the body, and eventually he's going to get him in like a ninja choke up against the cage, and he's going to submit Marcus Buchecha. It's a Kennedy Nizuchukwu 3rd round ninja choke.
Tough fight. I'll go with Kennedy Nizuchukwu, but I'm very nervous on this pick, really. I'll pick him. I'm going to pick him by 2nd round TKO. I think he's just going to flat out just cook Buchecha on the feet, and Buchecha's probably going to do some dumb Brazilian stuff and get himself into a dangerous position, and I think Kennedy could just ground and pound him through that area. So I'll go ground and pound TKO in the 2nd round for Kennedy Nizuchukwu. Moving on. We got Morgan Charrier taking on Mequazel Costa. I don't agree with Morgan Charrier as the favorite. He didn't look that good against Nate the Train, man. Like, I know he knocked him out and stuff, but Nate the Train was about to break him soon. And Nathaniel Wood was cooking him. Chepe Mariscal beat him. Although I kind of thought Chepe lost that fight, but he was still getting schooled on the ground. I'm gonna go with Mekwazel Costa by submission here. I like Mekwazel Costa. You could probably say, "Oh, you're biased because you've interviewed him and stuff," but even if I didn't have him on the channel, I was pretty high on Mekwazel. He's pretty good. Great jiu-jitsu, decent striking. Uh, not a bad. He's not bad, man. Mekwazel's not bad. I'm gonna go with second round submission, rear naked choke.
Yeah, I've been going back and forth on this fight for a little bit because I do remember Malcazile getting bathed in his own blood by Steve Garcia, but you got to remember that that's Steve Garcia. And in a lot of his fights since then, he's won pretty handedly. He has had some that are close, which I've been unimpressed with. One in the Apex somewhat recently. Morgan Charrier, I think, has been less impressive than Costa has been. Like Costa's losing to, Moises a weight class up when Moises was actually pretty good, losing to Steve Garcia, who we know is a good fighter. It was Julian Erosa. And I think Christian Rodriguez is the fights I didn't really like for Malcazile. But at the same time, I don't really know how Malcazile would do against a Nathaniel Wood or a Shepe. Uh, I think Morgan has a tough time with pressure styles. I think Shepe showed him that, and I think Nate was showing him that as well. I think when he can kind of get to cooking with the kickboxing, he can make something happen as long as the guy he's facing isn't a better kickboxer than he is. And I think Nathaniel Wood was able to be that better kickboxer. I don't like the defense of Malcazile at all times. I do like his footwork. I like his kicks. Something tells me he gets clipped in this fight. And I think it's been enough time since the Steve Garcia fight where I think he's going to be able to take some damage. He's going to take a shot well. Morgan's been less impressive. I feel like he can kind of get chewed up at range by Malcazile for the most of the fight, but I do think he can come in close range and potentially KO him. That's kind of the crossroads I'm at. Am I going to go Malcazile by decision or Morgan by KO? I don't know if Malcazile Costa has a TKO loss on his resume. Not in the UFC. I think I'm going to go Malcazile Costa by decision. He has 2 total in his career, and I don't think any of them were in the UFC. I think they were both pretty early in his career. One of them was a retirement. I don't like that. I don't like that. But regardless, I think the momentum favors Malcazile Costa, and I think he has a deeper bag on the feet, and I also think he's more dangerous on the ground. That being said, I think I'm going to go 29-28, maybe split decision because they love to help the French get decisions. But I'm going to say decision win for Costa.
Good fight here in the featherweight division. More or less, this is a pick'em fight. For good reason. I think Alex explained like the contradictions in both their styles and what's going to work against them. Morgan Charrier, he's got 10 decision losses. Not really a great stat if you're a fighter, if you can't get the finish. Mezakayo Costa, he's been knocked out twice, I think, of the retirement, and then the ground and pound TKO loss to Steve Garcia. And he's been subbed twice. Once by Thiago Moises in a weight class above, and I think the other one may have been Julian Erosa. I think he beat Julian Erosa. Let me go see that real quick. I think he beat Julian Erosa. Yeah, he beat Julian Erosa. I'm trying to see the other sub. Whatever. Yeah, arm triangle to some Brazilian guy. Nate Landwehr, I picked him in his last fight against Morgan Charrier, and I felt pretty freaking much like a genius. I thought he was doing fantastic, and then he just had an unnecessary exchange, and Morgan Charrier was able to get the finish late in the 3rd round, I think it was. I do think Morgan Charrier, I suppose you could say, is the more technical striker, so to speak. Better defense, better range management. If it's on the feet, he has a chance. He's shown that he can compete in fights. Mezakayo Costa, I like the momentum that he's been on ever since the Steve Garcia loss. The Steve Garcia loss was brutal, man. I felt like he got TKO twice and subbed. Like, that shit was gruesome, nightmare fuel. Steve, that's one of Steve's like most brutal finishes ever, I think. But there's no shame in that. Steve Garcia is a fucking tank. That dude is a monster. I don't think Morgan Sherrier got that level of finishing upside. I really don't. He ain't nothing like Steve as far as knockout potential. Um, I think the technical aspects of the striking are Morgan Sherrier, but the gap ain't crazy. I like Mezakailo's kicks. I like his straight punches. I think he has the grappling upside in this fight. I think he could maybe even mix a takedown or two in the fight. I'm gonna go with Mezakayo Costa. I think I am gonna also go with the decision win, where he's just able to display that he's the better mixed martial artist. He's able to avoid the big punches of Sherrier. I think it'll be a sweaty first round, but after that, Sherrier's explosiveness won't be as dynamic. He ain't gonna be as putting as much intensity into his shots, and he'll fade. Whereas Mezakayo will kind of build into the fight. He'll maybe even mix a takedown in round one to try to take away that explosiveness from Sherrier. Um, he's got a lot of submissions in his career. Out of his like 24 wins, I think he has like 8 subs or something like that. Maybe even might threaten a submission attempt. But I'm gonna go with a Mezakayo Costa decision win where he's just able to mix the grappling and the striking.
All right, moving on. The next
All right.
fight of the card, we have Cesar Almeida versus Cesare Oleksiejczuk, younger brother of Mikhail Oleksiejczuk. This is a tough fight. This is a tough debut for the likes of Oleksiejczuk, who is a younger guy. I want to say he's in his 20s. I'm not sure how young he is exactly, but I want to say he's on the right side of 25. He is 25. Yep. 6'3", taller guy, longer guy. Pause. I think he hits harder, although Cesar Almeida does have the kickboxing experience. I assume he's going to kick more. He's going to be a little bit more technical. He is dangerous even when he's rocked, as we see against Abdul Razak Al Hassan. But Abdul Razak Al Hassan should never be like hurting you as a kickboxer. Honestly, like Cesar Almeida, you should be low kicking that, teeping that in the body, weaving, clinch knees. You should be having a field day with fucking Abdul Razak Al Hassan, unless he's out wrestling you, which he wasn't. He was trying to KO you on the feet and you were letting him. I think Cesare hits probably not as hard as Abdul Razak Al Hassan, but I do think he hits very hard. And I do think he's faster and better with the technique overall. And that kind of makes me feel like if Abdul Razak Al Hassan can put you in those moments, Cesare also can. And he could probably potentially get a finish. I don't think Cesar Almeida is really worth the hype. I, for one, have always been caught by the kickboxer trap, like in striking matchups where they're like, oh, the kickboxer, he's just going to destroy this other guy on the feet. But that's not always the way it is, especially with these guys who have kind of taken their lickings in kickboxing and came to the MMA and started taking their lickings here too. They're older, taking some damage. I think Cesare young, he's a fresh face. He wants this. UFC jitters could always play a factor, but I'm going to go Cesare Oleksiejczuk here. I'm going to say he drops Almeida. I'm going to say Almeida's tough enough to survive to a decision, but we see a lot of what Cesare can do with the wrestling as well as the striking. I'm going to say 30-27 Cesare. 30-26. Throw a 10-8 in there. But I'm going to say Almeida's tough enough to hold on.
Uh, I got Cesare Oleksiejczuk as well. I think I'm gonna go with a finish here. I think he can finish Cesar Almeida. Cesar Almeida, Alex alluded to this. Like Abdullah Zakal Hassan shouldn't be able to rock you. I feel like if Cesar Oleksiejczuk is able to get you, Cesare, if he's able to get you like that, I think I think he'll finish Cesar Almeida. I'm gonna go with I'll go late first or second TKO for Cesare Oleksiejczuk in a successful finish debut. Uh, he's pretty good. I could probably see him mix in the martial arts. I think he does train at the Fighting Nerds with his brother and with the all of the Fighting Nerds themselves. Like I could probably see him mixing some grappling in there and potentially at sub Cesar Almeida. So who knows? I do think this will be a finish here. I'll go Cesare Oleksiejczuk late first or second TKO.
UFC debut of Mikhail Olansechik's brother, Cesare, I believe that's how you pronounce it, going up against Cesar Almeida, former Glory kickboxer. If I'm not mistaken, I think he has a win in kickboxing against Alex Pereira, allegedly. Um, Almeida is explosive, he's powerful, but his output isn't great. Um, he's definitely live to knock anybody out. I mean, he's a freaking kickboxer. What do you expect? And he's Brazilian, he's explosive. But he is 37. I understand you could be older in the higher weight classes, I do. But I do think there may be a potential speed disadvantage here for Caesar, even though he is the more refined striker. Cesare, 25 years old, 6'3", decent reach. I think he's the more well-rounded mixed martial artist between the two of them. Obviously, Caesar is kind of just a kickboxer, whereas Cesare, I feel like with the 9 TKO wins, I think there's more grappling upside in his position, especially if he can get on top of Cesar. I really think the blueprint to kind of fight this guy is the Roman Kopylov fight. I think Cesare should watch that fight at nauseum. He should just try to duplicate what he did. Maybe not even so much from a kicking standpoint, but just from a pressure boxing standpoint. I feel like that's how you beat Cesar. His output, I'm not in love with. I don't think so. I think he thinks he's Pereira the way he fights. Cesar Almeida thinks that he can one punch KO you if he just touches you the right way. And when he does that, he risks giving up a lot of points, a lot of minutes, and a lot of just position to win the fight. I think Cesare, not too many submissions on his pro career, a lot of knockouts, but I think I'm gonna follow Alex. I think I'm gonna go a decision win for Cesare in the debut. I think he's gonna mix the martial arts. I think he could potentially get a late TKO. Maybe. Maybe I might switch it up. At 9 TKOs. Punch or punch, who do you think hits harder? Cesare or Roman Kopylov?
Cesare.
Fuck
And I
it, we're
think
gonna reach.
the way he got bullied by Kopylov doesn't age that well.
Yeah, fuck it, we're gonna reach. I'm gonna go with a. I want to go second or third. I low-key want to go third, but yeah, I'll go third. I'm gonna go Cesare Olansechik by third round TKO, where he plays the striking game. It's sweaty in the first round with Almeida because he's looking for his big shot to drop you and follow up. Plays the leg kick game, but I think Cesare is going to do a good job of range management. I don't think he's going to let his legs get decapitated. Maybe they'll take a couple and he'll be like, okay, that hurts. Let's not fucking just let my leg get eaten up. I think he'll start pumping the jab, straight punches. He's just going to want to get Almeida on the back foot. Just force exchanges, maybe even in the clinch, maybe even shoot a takedown. Just try to get him on the back foot and keep him guessing, and then have him overextend into a takedown where I think Cesare is going to kind of spend the remainder of the first round on top, just like getting his little punches, getting his position, staying on top, and kind of wearing on Almeida. Then I think the second round comes, and Almeida is going to try to push press the limit because he feels like he lost the first round. He's going to be more aggressive. Cesare is going to realize that. He's not going to really be looking for the counter, but just kind of stay defensively aware, make him run around a little bit. I think he'll instead of going for leg kicks, I think he's gonna go for the head, but he's gonna try to get some body shots in too when they're in close. I think it'll be the end of the second round, and it'll all feel like Cesare 2-0, and he's looking like he's having a masterclass. And I think round three comes, he shoots the takedown, he gets it. Almeida's exhausted, he doesn't want to be here anymore, and it's going to be similar to the Roman Kopylov fight where he was able to get takedowns, but instead he's going to actually inflict damage from on top. I'm going to go with a third round ground and pound TKO for Cesare Olansechik in his UFC debut.
Alrighty. Moving on. We got the co-main event of the evening. Giga Chikadze taking on Kevin Vallejos. This is a pretty tough fight to predict here. Kevin Vallejos, he's 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 making his way up in the rankings. His only loss was to Gene Silva in the Contender Series. That's not a bad one at all. I'll go. I'm gonna go. I'm still go with Kevin Vallejos here. Giga's a dog though. I wouldn't mind people picking him, but he's getting old, man. He's 37. Being 37 at featherweight, unless if you're Volk, I don't see you doing that successful. I'm gonna go with Kevin Vallejos by decision. 30 30-27, maybe a 29-28. Maybe Giga wins the first round. Second and third, Kevin Vallejos picks up the pace and just starts teeing off while Giga's tired and stuff. He could possibly finish Giga too, because I remember when Giga was hella tired against Calvin Kattar. Calvin Kattar dropped him, I think, but that was like 5-round fight. Doesn't really need to be brought up after that. I'll go Kevin Vallejos 29-28 decision. Yeah, I think this will be a very I think it'll look competitive in the first round, and then Giga's gonna gas out, and Kevin Vallejos is just gonna pick them apart.
Yeah, this is a very close fight, and when this fight was booked, my first reaction was, "Oh shit, that's a dope fight." The second one was, "They are pushing Vallejos too soon." Giga isn't the best fighter of all time. He usually loses by being out grappled. He has been outstruck before, brutally by Calvin Kattar in a 5 rounder. I think as soon as you can kind of mix in some wrestling, Giga folds. I think a Vallejos would be smart to mix in some wrestling, but I don't think he will. I think he's going to try to box, and I think Giga's going to try to kickbox. And I think Vallejos is going to have some success in this fight. But I look back to his more recent fight against Danny Silva, a guy who, is good at kicking, calf kicks, good at popping the jab out, keeping it range, keeping distance, and outpointing people. And he made it a very tough fight for Kevin Vallejos. I don't think Danny Silva's the level of Giga. I don't think he has the bag or the speed or the damaging shots that Giga has. It's more of just a point fighter. Whereas Giga's being able to KO people with head kicks and body kicks and punches and all sorts. Giga is aging, but I don't think Vallejos is going to wrestle him, to be honest. And I think he's going to be getting kicked up, similar to how he was in the first round against Danny Silva. I think Giga's going to be able to do that. The second round was very close, if I remember right, against Danny Silva. I think Giga's going to be able to win the first 2 rounds by out kicking and outpointing Kevin Vallejos. And I don't think it's just going to be an outpointing. I do think there are going to be some very damaging shots like body kicks, keeps to the face, stuff like that. And then I think Vallejos is going to come back in the third round and really let Giga have it. I think, as a matter of fact, Vallejos is going to rip him so bad to the body and in the head, he might get a finish in the third round against Giga Chikadze. I'm not going to make this my prediction because I just feel like it's kind of bullshit too. But we've been seeing some draws lately in combat sports. This reeks to me like a Giga first 2 rounds and a Vallejos 10-8 in round 3 for some reason. I'm not going to pick a draw. I'm not going to waste your time. But I do think that's liable. Maybe if you want to throw a little schmunyon on a draw, I do think this is a fight where that may happen. I think the smaller octagon is going to help Vallejos cut him off as well. I didn't like how kind of timid he was and how long it took for Vallejos to get his reads. I don't see the same rapid improvement in Vallejos' game that I have seen in like Talbot. And I think a part of that is because Vallejos is so young. He's only 24 and he's getting pushed right into Giga Chikadze. I want to pick Vallejos. I want to say I'm maybe overlooking Giga a little bit and underlooking Vallejos. If I have to pick somebody, I'm going to go with Giga by decision. But I do think the third round is going to be rough. I'm going to say Giga, though, first 2 rounds. Kicks play a big role in experience.
Great fight here in the featherweight division in the co-main event. I agree with Alex's sentiment. They may be pushing Kevin Vallejos a bit too far. Danny Silva to Giga Chikadze is a bit of a leap, but nonetheless, this guy's good, man. He's on a great win streak. So many pro fights for only being as old as he is. So much experience being acquired at such a young age is very impressive for him. His only career loss, a decision loss to Gene Silva, which I don't frown upon. I think Gene Silva's a pretty good fighter in his own right. Giga Chikadze, great kickboxing, good representation for Georgia. He's fast, he's explosive, he's dangerous in the first round. His kicks are legit, body kicks, head kicks, leg kicks, you name it. His kicking game is elite. His boxing isn't bad. He has some, he's willing to throw down. I do think his chin is better than people give it credit for. I do feel that. His gas tank isn't great, and he is getting hit later in fights. So for his chin to be able to hold up as much as it has, I think that's a testament to those Georgian genetics. I've said this to Alex and Mike and everybody I talked to. Like I talked about this at nauseum. I think Georgians have like dumb chins. I know Garam like quit in the Elvis Brenner fight, but he's taken punches before. Rob's never been knocked out. Ilya's got some Georgian in him. He's never been knocked out. What's it called? Yeah, Giga. Like there's the beating that Calvin Kattar put on him, the Arnold Allen fight. Like he'll be exhausted in these rounds, and he's still getting hit, and he's like still there. So I think he is pretty durable for the most part. I do not hate Alex's willingness to maybe even go for a draw. I don't hate that at all because it's funny that he says that because I have Kevin Vallejos by a split decision. I think this is going to be a very close fight. I think I agree with his prediction for the most part in terms of Giga. Those first 2 rounds and those first 10 minutes, I do think will be live. He'll want to get his offense off in round one. I think even if you're picking Vallejos, whether you're picking Giga, I think you have to say that he wins the first round. Giga, I do feel that. I think the second round is going to be a toss up, but I do think you also have to say if this fight's extended depending on the tempo it was in the first 2 rounds, I think on paper you have to give Vallejos round three, given the history we've seen with Giga. His style is very effective early, but the longer the fight goes, those kicks are taxing of the cardio to just throw those kicks and be on the back foot as much as he is. It's draining. So I'm gonna go with a Kevin Vallejos split decision. I do not hate the draw look at all. I completely understand what he's saying. I think it's first round Giga, third round Vallejos, second round's a toss up. Could be even a draw. I have it being a very close fight. A bit of a jump early, but Vallejos is able to get takedowns when he needs to. He's able to get to the body when they're in the pocket. He's able to weather the storm early from the kicks in round one, be able to close distance and pressure Giga effectively. I'm going to go with a Kevin Vallejos split decision win.
Alrighty, moving on. We got the main event of the evening, the final main event for a ESPN Fight Night card. Manel Kape taking on Brandon Royval. I'm gonna go with Manel Kape here. I think Brandon Royval. If you see a little slowing down in Manel, you could live bet Brandon Royval. But Brandon is so soy, bro. Like he is so soy. I I I really don't really I don't really see him doing good in this fight. He's tough and he's very good. I get that. He's a very tough fight. It's gonna be a very tough fight for him now. But his defense isn't good, and he took a shitload of damage in the Joshua Van fight. And I think before the fight too, he just got back from concussion. He got out of concussion. He got back from recovering from a concussion, and I remember either it's Brandon Royval just doing Brandon Royval shit where he just starts crying about certain things. Brandon Royval was talking about how he was that was like the worst concussion he's ever received in his career. And I do not like hearing stuff like that. And dude already cuts a shit ton of weight. You could probably argue the same thing for Manel. I think the more damage you're gonna take and the more weight you're gonna cut, I think it's gonna make your chin decrease. I'm not gonna go with a finish here, but I could see Manel finishing him. You know what? I will go finish. Why not? I'll go with I'll go third round TKO for Manel Kape. I think he'll just start piecing up Brandon on the feet, kick the shit out of his legs. Also, Brandon Royval has had major leg injuries in the past. I could see Manel going to that. I could see him just picking apart in the body, catching him a time or two. Manel is very hard to catch too. Manel is very hard to like. Manel has really good defense in the division, man. He's got very good counter striking. I think he will use this a lot. I could so see him just taunting Brandon Royval while he's just piecing Brandon Royval up. But we'll have to see. But yeah, I got Manel Kape. it is going to be a tough fight, I do think. Even though I shit on Royval a lot, I will give him credit. He is a tough fighter, and I could see this go in the distance. But for, like I said, taking a shitload of damage just coming back from concussion, and you telling me in an interview, not me in particular, but you know what I mean, saying in an interview that that's the worst concussion you've ever received in your career, that is not a good sign for me. I got Manel Kape, third round TKO.
This is a tough fight. I think both of them have kind of been through the ringer lately. Manel Kape feels like he can't stop missing weight, and Royval, as Mike was saying, had like concussion, like his worst concussion of his career. He tore his ACL in the Van fight as well. Both of these guys kind of had a history of injuries. The first Moreno fight for Royval, he dislocates his shoulder. Manel Kape breaks his foot against Makayev. Uh, both of these guys are kind of accident and injury prone. I feel like you don't really know exactly what you get on day, but I do value the consistent making weight of Royval. I feel like cardio wise, he's better in 5 rounds. I think 5 rounds favors Royval. I think if it was three, it would favor Kape. This fight has been booked a couple different times, and I looked back. I chose both of them different times. I chose Royval every time it was a 5 round fight, and I chose Kape every time it was a 3 round fight. So I'm going to keep that streak going. I'm going to wind up picking Royval. I think he keeps a higher output. I could see Manel getting knockdowns. I don't think really though that he can KO Royval. Royval seems to be a pretty hard guy to KO. You can drop him, but it seems like he has to lose by a submission. To be honest, Manel Kape, although he does have a grappling game, I don't think he has the ability to really sub Royval. I think Royval, on the other hand, his length, his output is an X factor here, as long as his routine 5 round fighting in the UFC. Whereas Manel, even when he has been in the 5 rounds, he usually wins by finish. And if I can't count on him finish rounds 4 and 5, I think Royval takes over, even if it is close in a 3 rounder. I'm going to say 48-47, close fight. Royval gets the last 2 rounds. Manel, I say, wins the maybe first and second or second and third. I'm going to say he wins 2 out of the 3 fights. If this was a 3 rounder, Manel would have won. But since it's a 5 rounder, Royval wins 48-47, close fight and fight of the night. If Vallejos Giga doesn't get it, but a good fight nonetheless. Competitive, on the feet.
Great fight here, and the final fight night of the ESPN era, and the final fight night of 2025, and the final card of 2025. Main event in the flyweight division between Brandon Royval and Manel Kape. Really good fight. Both these guys are not small for the division. Both these guys are good strikers. I think the power is Manel. I think the speed is Manel. I think the experience, the cardio, and the technicality, I suppose, in some ways, specifically more so in the grappling and just MMA, not just solely striking, I think is Royval. I think Royval has fought in the better level of competition at a UFC level. Um, but at the same time, Royval's been in there. Manel's been in there with some good guys. He's been in there with Pantoja as well. He's been in there with Muhammad Makayev. He's been in there with Asu Alimbayev, Mateusz Nicolau. Not bad fighters in the flyweight division. But I'd give the edge and experience to Royval. Both these guys have questionable factors going into the fight, as Alex alluded to, with Royval talking about the concussions that he went through. Took a lot of damage in the Joshua Van fight, tore his ACL allegedly. I didn't even know that. Manel Kape seems to have a fucking problem making weight on the scale. It's not great, especially if you want to be a champ. Got to make weight, but nonetheless, very entertaining fighter, very exciting fighter. I enjoy watching Manel Kape fight as well. Love his antics on the mic. It's always good to hear what Manel's got to say. Royval, he looked good against Moreno. He went the distance with Pantoja. He had a good fight with Joshua Van. Against high-level competition, he is showing up. This would be on paper, like, aside from Pantoja, like the highest level opponent he would have faced in the UFC, excluding Muhammad Makayev. who, if he was in the UFC, would have at least had a title shot by now. But that's a story for another day. Enough of my yapping. I'm gonna make a pick. I'm actually gonna go with Manel Kape in this one. I think the power, the speed, the timing of Manel Kape is gonna be able to take advantage of Royval's willingness to go forward, his willingness to pressure and meet in the middle. And I think punch for punch, I think Manel cracks harder than Royval. I think early on it's gonna be Manel. I don't hate a TKO look at all. I don't. Given the damage he sustained in the Joshua Van fight, as well as the concussions that we're hearing about, I don't hate that. But I'm gonna go with Manel Kape by decision, contrary to popular belief. I think he's gonna win the first 3 rounds, and then I think Royval is gonna win round 4 and 5. I think it's gonna be close. I think it's gonna take a minute to score the cards. I wouldn't even be shocked at a split decision, but I think Manel would have done enough damage in the first 3 rounds where rounds 4 and 5 aren't valued as heavy, even though Royval is like outpointing him. It's gonna be a dogfight. It's gonna be a scrap, an amazing banger. Don't I wouldn't rule out the potential of a knockout. But I'm gonna go Manel Kape. Portugal, Angola, you have one. You have a contender in the flyweight division, and yeah, man, flyweight division. The top 5 is gonna be a lot of different colored flags in that mix. It's gonna be Myanmar, it's gonna be Japan twice, and it's gonna be Portugal. That's how I'm seeing it. So let's go, Manel Kape. I need some good post-fight speeches. I can't wait.
Yeah, I think it'll be a good one too, because him and Van went at it after the Royval fight. By the way,
Okay.
it wasn't just any ordinary concussion. Apparently, this motherfucker had 2 concussions during the camp.
Yeah,
Damn. I didn't know
Like,
you
rough.
could have 2 concussions.
yeah, it said
That's
he
not.
had 2 concussions
Damn.
during that
Yeah.
training camp. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not smart of him. What, he got concussed in the beginning and at the end of the camp?
Yeah.
That honestly just sounds like Cope. Like, oh, I lost the van. Oh, I was
No,
concussed.
this interview was before the Van fight. Like
Oh,
this was yeah, this was when he was like getting ready for the fight with Manel in July. The fight
Mm.
that he fought Van in. Yeah, he
yeah,
said
he's
that
a
he had like
soy
2 in
thing.
there. Huh?
I said he's a soy little bitch of a thing on God, but
I told you, dude just complains.
he does. But I think he's good enough to beat Manel, although I do think it'll be a great fight. And honestly, even though flyweight main events aren't that great, I think this is a pretty good main event to end out the year, despite them being flyweights. I think this will be a competitive striking fight, no matter who you're picking.
Yeah, despite
Yeah.
my dislike for Royval, he's very
Potential fight
entertaining.
of the year candidate if things go according to plan.
Yeah, I already yeah, well, we got the awards show coming right after that, so we'll have to see how that goes.
Indeed. But all right, I think
I
that'll
appreciate
conclude
you
this
guys
end of the
for
prediction.
watching the show. And
Thank
make sure to go like and subscribe. Last fight night of 2025. If there's anything else you guys have to say, I didn't mean to interrupt. I apologize if I did. But yeah, feel free.
Uh,
Not
like and
really.
yeah, just like and subscribe, motherfuckers.
All right.